All right, my name's Julian Calder. I am a first year from Minnesota.
My name is Eliza Broughton. I'm a junior from Blue Hill, Maine. This semester in Intro to Architecture, we've been focusing on starting by writing a poem based on a concept and then trying to design a small model of architecture based on our poem.
We've been focusing a lot on sort of the main architectural concepts, like less so on building a specific structure, but more focusing on the abstract.
This is my poem. Dark forms meet together, creating light, space in which we gather in unity, enhanced by our borders and where they stop. We are part of the creation, but never stagnant. I wanted to create a space that had contrasting light and darks, having a space where people could gather and also move through and not feel confined by the borders.
We find ourselves in the current of life, always moving forward, regardless of our wishes. And this current is not tame, rushing from one place to the next. Sometimes we worry that we may go under, and there is little we can do. But as the current slows and the river widens, even for just a moment, we may pause and appreciate the experiences we have lived through, and prepare ourselves for what lies ahead. I saw this movement as sort of the movement of a river. I tried to sort of define my threshold entries into this fluid space, while still having it feel like you're able to experience different thresholds, in the beginning where it's narrow and then in the middle where it opens up into a wider space. I think that my model did a pretty good job of representing that movement.
I think the biggest thing is how abstract we've been thinking about a lot of the architectural design ideas and concepts, and how to convey messages with the architecture that I otherwise haven't thought about before this class.
I now I feel that I think about buildings just all around me when I'm walking around campus. I see buildings differently instead of just, oh, that's a structure. I think, oh, like the thought that the architect put into making this space convey a certain feeling or like give a certain experience to the person who's going through that space.
Hi, I'm Sanjana.
And I'm Clara, and we are both Architecture and Environmental Studies joint majors.
We're also part of the board of the student organization Architecture Table.
Over these past semesters at our classes at Mid, we have learned about the Living Building Challenge, which is the highest existing standard of green building certification.
We decided that we would like to explore how Middlebury could take on the Living Building Challenge. And so the LBC uses a whole systems approach to designing buildings and spaces that are socially just, culturally rich, and ecologically restorative.
It aims to restore relationships between people and the community, and also with the surrounding environment, truly embodying a regenerative approach to design, with the goal of improving the existing state of the natural surroundings by giving back rather than simply doing less harm.
And so we believe that Middlebury can really aspire to fulfill this standard in its built environment and beyond through everything that it's done with environmental initiatives in the past.
In fall 2020, a group of 12 students engaged in a research project to understand how Middlebury's goals and long-term plans align with the LBC standards. We looked at the various spheres of ecology, energy, and social justice, and looked into various foundational Middlebury documents such as the Master Plan, the Energy 2028 Principles, and the 5-year Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan. We also attempted to understand perspectives from different stakeholders on campus at the same time.
And so we found that the philosophy and the standard of the Living Building Challenge aligns with many of Middlebury's goals, including achieving 100% renewable energy, preserving and enhancing our sense of place, and also working towards an inclusive and just community. And we found that these aspects can be comprehensively and even creatively addressed through pursuing this standard.
We've compiled a research into a report and are currently collaborating with ongoing initiatives under the Twilight Project and the Sustainability Solutions Lab. Through these collaborations, we are working towards updating Middlebury's general building standards.
And so we believe that pursuing the Living Building Challenge is a really strong option to advance many of Middlebury's goals beyond simply just a building standard, but really looking at the heart of this campus and the relationships within it.
Hi, my name is Isabel Gay, and I am a sophomore architectural studies major and French minor. For our J-term course this year, Jack Allnut, our professor Shelley Pottorff and I had the opportunity to participate in a workshop run by MIT's Sustainable Design Lab. Their work to develop urban planning and architectural methods to improve design solutions is changing the way we create city systems that perform at a higher level in a more environmentally conscious landscape. In the workshop, we collaborated with our team from Middlebury, as well as other teams from all over the world, and graduate members of MIT's Sustainable Design Lab, in order to integrate their urban modeling interface software with the policies and standards of real occupied areas. Beyond the workshop, during J-term, Jack, Shelley, and I expanded our project to model Middlebury more thoroughly, channeling the town's aspirations of reducing carbon emissions, reducing current incentive programs, and adapting the most effective strategies to reduce energy and carbon use. By researching Vermont energy standards in categories such as air tightness, thermal, windows, lighting, and heating, and dividing the area into subsections of commercial, single-family, and multifamily, we conducted a visual and data analysis of how various degrees of upgrades could improve the environmental performance of our town. The possibilities are endless with this new software and the data we have access to. We have the potential to model even more than just Middlebury, working in new layers of infrastructural upgrades and policy changes, and running more tests to analyze their outcomes. In the future, we hope to continue the project, involving more students and faculty, and collaborating with the Burlington 2030 District, as well as other Vermont organizations that share our cause and dedication.
Hi, my name is Patrick Rollins. I'm a literary studies major from Santa Barbara, California. Recently moved to Quechee, Vermont.
My name is Justin Morandi. I'm an architectural studies major from Williamstown, Vermont.
Last year, I took a class with John McLeod. It was my first architecture class, and when I heard there was a summer program where I could participate equally in designing something with him, that sounded like a great opportunity to learn more about architecture and design.
Yeah, I originally wanted to participate in the design assembly because it gave me a chance to bring together both my construction experience and my academic architecture experience from Middlebury. In 8 days, having the chance to do both design and construction work is pretty extraordinary. The design assembly allowed me to grow as an individual because it pushed me to further conceptualize my idea of community. Coming to their hometown as an outsider means that you have to learn about the community, you have to learn about the place in order to design for the place. And the design assembly is a community endeavor. It takes all hands. I'm
an undergraduate literature major, and I was working with undergraduate architecture studies majors, with graduate students, and with practicing architects. Having a project that starts and finishes in 8 days is so satisfying, starting from studying the site to conceptualizing what you want the space to feel and look like, and then actually designing it, getting the materials, and building it. It's so fast-paced and it's so involved, and you're doing it all day, every day for those 8 days. It's a level of intensity that is so satisfying.
One of the most unique aspects of the Island Design Assembly was the fact that it took place on a remote and isolated island, Hurricane Island, in the Penobscot Bay. And because of that, we had to be mindful of material waste, food waste, energy usage. We only have one chance to bring materials onto the island via boat. And if we miscalculated something or needed an extra box of screws, we wouldn't be able to go back and get it because there's only limited transportation between islands.
Not having access to your phone or to computers really makes you focus in on the project so much more. Being rid of those distractions and in such a beautiful place too it's a really special feeling.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Engman and I'm a junior architecture major.
I'm Ella Houlihan and I'm a senior neuroscience major.
We are working on the Twilight Project, which serves to record the unspoken histories of Middlebury and bring problematic truths to light. Our subdivision interrogates the relationship of Middlebury College's built environment to the maintenance and sanctioning of power dynamics on campus.
There is a lot of history and knowledge about the spaces around us, but oftentimes those histories are stored away in the archives and forgotten. The history, architecture, and use of buildings and open spaces around campus have emotional, social, and even physical effects on us. For example, did you know that the Center for Health and Wellness was formerly a fraternity house? And when you learn this, does it change how safe you feel in that space?
In our research, we are asking questions like these in hopes of documenting how students of different races, genders, and backgrounds are impacted by the spaces around us.
This project is intended to span many years, but our current initiative is gathering data from students in the form of a questionnaire. We are working closely with the Living Building Challenge, which is a new rigorous standard of design. Through this collaboration between the Living Building Challenge team and the Twilight Project, we hope to consider the experiences of students, faculty, and staff for the design of more inclusive spaces.
Inclusive can and should mean many things. We are asking questions like, how might we change the lighting in this room to positively support a neurodivergent learner? Are there spaces on campus that make women and people of other genders feel unsafe based on the connotation of the space?
We are still living in the colonial period, where the continuation of colonization impacts every aspect of our lives, from the way we choose to design buildings to the way we extract materials. As we sit on stolen Abenaki land, not only do we acknowledge the violence that has occurred here and the privilege we hold to be here, but we acknowledge the work that is necessary for all of us to do. So throughout this project, we will return to texts on decolonization and decolonial architectural practices.
With the help of Professors Aaron Sasson and Edward Vasquez of the History of Art and Architecture Department, we hope not only to uncover histories, but put our energy towards creating new futures.
I'm Benjamin Johnson. I'm a senior and I'm from Boston.
I'm Megan Tan. I'm a senior as well, and I'm from Malaysia.
When I was told about the thesis topic being mainly about race, I was personally excited, but also surprised that the department wanted to go there. I feel like historically, thesis topics are more conceptual, or like they're not usually about topics so divisive as race. And when we were told that, I was like, okay, like I'm excited to see what each person will come up with coming from different racial backgrounds.
You know, it's not a new subject that we're talking about here. Maybe more people are putting attention on it, especially in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, and it's one of the, if not the most important thing that we should be talking about right now. I was surprised from what I learned from it. Like, I think it really gave us a chance to study and investigate the intersection between race and architecture, which isn't always apparent. I was pleasantly surprised by what I learned about how architecture can affect these really important social issues, and how architecture can really be used as a tool to move the world closer to a place of like equality and peace.
When you are able to spend time on a certain topic related to race and architecture, you see the deep connection between them. And then now I feel like I see these connections all over the place. Like when I'm back home in Boston, I see, food deserts and how architecture can both uplift and exclude a marginalized community. So I think overall incredibly beneficial and positive to do this project.
I had a great time. We had a really small class, so we really got to know each other really well. And each of us had a really different background of skill sets and strengths. Especially amazing to see how different everybody's presentations were right at the end. We were allowed a lot of free reign, so our projects didn't end up being very varied.
I also loved the experience of working with various students and a professor on this topic. It allowed me to see how other people contextualize and then kind of synthesize the topic into their own thesis project in the end. Almost all of us were also on campus for J-term, helped us get a little bit closer, or even closer than we would have.
I think also we all come from different backgrounds and grew up differently, so it was fun to share those stories. I mean, I goofed around a lot. I mean, Ben was singing for the entire semester in the studio.
Hey, I'm Arthur Furness. I am a sophomore and I am from Princeton, New Jersey.
My name is Rachel Zhang. I am a junior and I am from Fairfax, Virginia. So I decided to register for Habitat for Humanity because at that point I had already taken the intro studio and the intermediate studio, and I really wanted to go ahead and dive deep into the technical drafting skill development, which this class and this opportunity definitely gave.
The opportunity to have a real hands-on real-world experience with real-world implications. I don't think going in I had any idea how amazing and transformative the experience would be.
For this process, I saw a lot of value in the real world context and the undertaking that it took, especially in a liberal arts setting and as a student.
I definitely, at several points throughout the project, just needed to take a look at what we were doing and just realize how rare this is. It was a little bit about developing skills that I know in the professional world will be incredibly beneficial, but it was also just about knowing that what I was doing would have a real impact on real family, and that what we were building is not conceptual, but something real and tangible.
There were definitely a lot of challenges and hurdles to overcome, and jumping from that conceptual stage to the technical, where you had to really grasp the structures of the wall, or how concrete was laid, or how a foundation was built for a home. And so it was a lot of technical terms being thrown around, and learning what a 2x8, 2x6, the differences of all that. And so just learning how to communicate effectively with your teammates, as a choice that I make on the floor plan will affect the teammate working on the sections. Learning how to be effective communicators and understanding what they're doing in addition to your work was really important, and a challenge that I personally experienced. Arthur, what was your favorite part of it?
There was, as you know, a real sense of community among all of us on the project. And, we still see each other on campus, and we're like, hey, it's the Habitat crew. So Rachel, how do you feel about having completed the whole cycle?
Definitely a huge sigh of relief. I'd say it was definitely a really, not strenuous, but it was a lot of hard work that we had all contributed, and definitely rewarding. And I'm really glad that we had wrapped up another whole cycle, and the end result is 2 homes for 2 families, which is pretty darn neat.